February 18th, 2026, 7:33 local time. The Strait of Hormuz. The USS Forrest Sherman is exactly where she's supposed to be. The Arleigh Burke-class destroyer is positioned at the geographic center of the strait, equal distance from Iran and Oman, straddling the international shipping lanes. Her mission is presence. Her message is clear. American warships transit these waters freely. The Iranians have a different message. At 7:33, a swarm of 6 anti-ship missiles launches from 2 separate batteries on the Iranian coast. Target: the USS Forrest Sherman. I'm your host at U.S. Defense Review, where we analyze the military operations that define our world. The April 19th engagement was the most intense defensive action ever fought by a single American destroyer. 6 missiles, 90 seconds, 1 ship against a coordinated salvo designed to overwhelm her defenses. The Forrest Sherman survived, barely. And 49 minutes later, an American operation, unlike anything seen since Desert Storm, began systematically dismantling Iran's coastal defense network. Let's understand what the Forrest Sherman faced. The attack was coordinated from 2 positions: a Noor battery near Bandar Abbas and a College Fars battery near Jask. The missiles launched simultaneously, timed to arrive at the target within seconds of each other. This was the culmination of Iranian tactical evolution. They'd learned from previous engagements that single missiles could be intercepted. They'd learned that even paired missiles often failed. The lesson: saturate the defenses. 6 missiles, 3 from each battery, approaching from different bearings, at different altitudes, with different terminal profiles. The Forrest Sherman's AN/SPY-1D radar detected the launches at 7:33:14. The fire control system began calculating engagement solutions immediately. Time to first impact, approximately 110 seconds. Captain Marcus Williams was in the Combat Information Center when the alarm sounded. He had 110 seconds to save his ship. "Weapons free, all threats," he ordered. The Aegis combat system responded with everything it had. At 7:33:21, the first SM-2 missiles launched. 2 interceptors targeting the closest threats. A pair of Noors approaching from the northeast. At 7:33:24, 2 more SM-2s launched. Targets: the College Fars missiles from the east. At 7:33:28, 2 more SM-2s launched. Targets: the remaining Noors. 6 missiles inbound, 6 interceptors outbound. In theory, sufficient. In practice, theory means nothing in combat. At 7:34:41, the first intercepts occurred. SM-2 number 1 found its target. The leading Noor missile disintegrated 8 nautical miles from the ship. Clean kill. SM-2 number 2 missed. The second Noor had executed a terminal maneuver, a pre-programmed jink that threw off the intercept solution. The SM-2 detonated, but the Noor was outside the lethal radius. 1 Noor still coming from the northeast. Time to impact, 34 seconds. SM-2 numbers 3 and 4 engaged the College Fars missiles. These were ballistic, faster, steeper approach angles, harder to intercept. Number 3 scored a proximity kill. The College Fars fragmented, but continued on a ballistic trajectory. The warhead section was still intact, still falling toward the ship. Number 4 missed entirely. A guidance malfunction. The seeker lost lock during terminal approach. The missile went ballistic, splashing harmlessly 2 kilometers away. 1 College Fars warhead section falling. 1 intact College Fars still tracking. Time to impact, 28 seconds. SM-2 numbers 5 and 6 engaged the remaining Noors from the northeast. Number 5 hit. The second Noor disintegrated at 5 nautical miles. Number 6 faced the third Noor, the one that had evaded the earlier intercept. This missile was close now, inside 3 nautical miles, descending toward its terminal attack run. Number 6 scored a proximity kill at 7:34:58. But proximity meant fragments, not destruction. The Noor was damaged, wobbling, bleeding fuel, but still flying. 4 missiles intercepted or destroyed. 2 missiles still tracking. Time to impact, 19 seconds. The Phalanx CIWS could engage one target at a time. 2 targets were inbound. Captain Williams made a split-second decision. Helm, hard to port, emergency flank. The Forrest Sherman heeled into the sharpest turn her hull could manage. 9,000 tons of warship pivoting on her keel, presenting her narrowest profile to the inbound threats. The Phalanx engaged the closest threat, the damaged Nor from the northeast. 20mm tungsten rounds shredded the already wounded missile. It broke apart at 400 meters, debris raining into the sea beside the turning ship. The other threat, the College Far's warhead section, tumbling but still lethal, was 12 seconds from impact. The Phalanx couldn't retarget in time. The ship was still turning. The warhead was falling. At 7:35:11, the College Far's warhead section struck the water 23 meters from the Forrest Sherman's starboard side. Underwater detonation. The blast was devastating. A 450-kilogram warhead detonating 23 meters from a ship's hull creates a shockwave that travels through water at 1,500 meters per second. The Forrest Sherman's turn had presented her stern quarter to the blast, the most vulnerable angle. The shockwave struck like a hammer. Hull plates buckled. Seams split. The propeller shafts, both of them, warped from the transmitted force. The rudder jammed at 15 degrees to port. Inside the ship, sailors were thrown from their feet. Equipment broke loose from mounts. Pipes ruptured. Electrical systems shorted. The Forrest Sherman had survived the swarm attack, but she was crippled. Damage assessment came rapidly. Propulsion. Both shafts damaged. Maximum speed reduced to 8 knots. Steering, rudder jammed, emergency steering rigged. Hull integrity. Multiple compartments taking water. Damage control teams struggling. Weapons, surprisingly intact. The VLS cells were forward of the blast effect. Sensors. AN/S. PY. 1D operational. Minor damage to aft arrays. Casualties. Remarkably light. The blast had hit the stern quarter, away from crew berthing. 6 sailors were injured, none critically. No deaths. The ship had survived. Barely. She could still float. She could barely move, but she could still fight. And Captain Williams intended to fight. At 7:37, he transmitted to 5th Fleet. Forrest Sherman engaged by 6 missile salvo. All missiles defeated, but ship damaged by near-miss detonation. Propulsion and steering compromised. Request immediate assistance. Recommend, strongly recommend, maximum retaliation. They threw everything they had at us. Vice Admiral Santos received the report at 7:40. She had been monitoring the engagement in near real time. The Aegis system transmitted data to Fleet Headquarters continuously. She had watched the 6 missiles launch, watched the intercepts, watched the near-miss detonation. The Forrest Sherman had faced the most intense attack any American destroyer had ever survived. She had defeated 5 of 6 missiles. She had taken damage from the 6th, but she was still afloat, still fighting. The Iranian gambit had failed, but they had come close. Too close. Another few meters and the warhead would have hit the hull directly. Another few seconds and the Phalanx might have engaged the wrong target. The response needed to ensure this never happened again. At 7:44, Santos authorized Operation Anvil Strike. The name was apt. The operation would hammer Iran's coastal defense network until nothing remained. Target list. Both batteries that had attacked the Forrest Sherman. 3 additional Nor batteries along the Bandar Abbas coast. 2 College Far's batteries in the eastern sector. The Coastal Defense Command Center that coordinated battery operations. 3 radar installations that provided targeting data. 12 targets. Comprehensive destruction. The assets had been pre-positioned for exactly this contingency. The USS George H.W. Bush Carrier Strike Group was operating in the Gulf of Oman. Her air wing would provide the primary strike capability. 24 FA-18EF Super Hornets armed for ground attack, supported by 4 EA-18G Growlers for electronic warfare. The guided missile submarines USS Ohio and USS Michigan were positioned in the Arabian Sea. Between them, they carried 308 Tomahawk cruise missiles. 40 of those missiles were allocated to Anvil Strike. 2 B-2 Spirit stealth bombers were airborne over the Indian Ocean, originally tasked for a different contingency. They were diverted to participate. The strike coordination was the most complex American operation since the initial phases of the Iraq War. At 7:51, the first wave launched. The Ohio and Michigan began their Tomahawk salvos. 40 missiles rose from the sea in rapid succession, a rate of fire that emptied launch tubes as fast as the systems could cycle. Their targets, the 2 batteries that had attacked the Forrest Sherman, plus 2 radar installations. The Tomahawks would arrive first, suppressing air defenses and destroying confirmed shooter positions. At 7:58, the aircraft launched. The Super Hornets catapulted from the Bush's deck in pairs, forming into strike packages as they climbed. The Growlers followed, their electronic warfare pods ready to blind any surviving Iranian radar. Their targets, the secondary missile batteries and the Coastal Defense Command Center. At 8:07, the B-2s received their final targeting data. Their targets, 2 College Fars batteries in hardened positions that the other weapons might not penetrate. The Spirit carried bunker-busting munitions specifically designed for this mission. At 8:22, 49 minutes after the Forrest Sherman was hit, the first Tomahawks arrived. The Noor battery near Bandar Abbas, the eastern half of the swarm attack, was hit first. 8 Tomahawks saturated the position. The launchers, the radar, the command vehicles, the reload stocks. The battery that had fired 3 missiles at an American destroyer had 3 minutes of existence left. Then it had none. The College Fars battery near Jask received the same treatment. 8 more Tomahawks. The same result. Complete destruction. The radar installations were hit simultaneously. 4 Tomahawks each. The facilities that had provided targeting data, that had tracked the Forrest Sherman, calculated her course and speed, transmitted the data that guided the missiles, were obliterated. At 8:29, the aircraft arrived. The Growlers went in first, their jamming pods filling Iranian radar screens with noise. Any air defense systems that had survived the Tomahawk strikes were blinded. The Super Hornets followed in waves. The first wave hit the remaining Noor batteries. 3 positions along the coast that hadn't participated in the attack, but could participate in future attacks. 72 JDA-M's precision destruction. The second wave hit the Coastal Defense Command Center. This was the brain of Iran's anti-ship network, the facility that coordinated battery positions, assigned targets, managed the entire system. 48 JDA-M's and 16 JSOWs struck the compound. The above-ground structures collapsed. The underground bunkers were breached. The officers who had planned the attack on the Forrest Sherman were buried in the rubble. At 8:37, the B-2s arrived. The College Fars batteries in the eastern sector were positioned in hardened mountain sites. Tunnels carved into rock. Blast doors protecting the launcher positions. Conventional weapons might damage them. The B-2s carried unconventional weapons. GBU-57, massive ordnance penetrators, 30,000 pounds each, designed to penetrate 200 feet of concrete before detonating. The B-2S each carried 1 MOP, 2 bombs, 2 targets. The first MOP struck at 8:38. The mountain shook. Dust and rock erupted from the tunnel entrance. The facility inside, the launchers, the missiles, the crew, was crushed under millions of tons of collapsing stone. The second MOP struck at 8:39. Same result. A hardened position that had taken years to construct was destroyed in seconds. At 8:44, the last American aircraft cleared Iranian airspace. Operation Anvil Strike was complete. Damage assessment compiled over the following week. 2 Noor batteries, attack participants, destroyed. 2 College Fars batteries, attack participants, destroyed. 3 Noor batteries, secondary targets, destroyed. 2 College Fars batteries, hardened sites, destroyed. 3 radar installations, destroyed. 1 Coastal Defense Command Center, destroyed. Total missile batteries destroyed, 9. Total radar installations destroyed, 3. Total command facilities destroyed, 1. Estimated Iranian casualties: 400 to 500 personnel. Estimated missile inventory destroyed: 60 to 80 anti-ship missiles. Iran's coastal defense network in the Strait of Hormuz sector was functionally eliminated. The Forrest Sherman was towed to Bahrain by the fleet tug USS Navajo. Her repairs would take 7 months. Her crew received the Navy Unit Commendation for their performance during the engagement, defeating 5 of 6 missiles in a salvo attack that should have overwhelmed their defenses. Captain Williams received the Navy Cross. His decision to execute an emergency turn at the critical moment had saved his ship. If the Forrest Sherman had maintained course, the Khalij Fars warhead would have hit the hull directly. The diplomatic response was predictable in its fury. Iran accused the United States of destroying their legitimate defensive capabilities. They claimed the original attack was a response to American aggression. They demanded international sanctions and threatened to close the strait permanently. The United States released the full engagement record: radar tracks, missile trajectories, damage photos. The evidence showed an unprovoked 6-missile salvo against a ship in international waters. The international community expressed concern. The UN met. Resolutions were vetoed. Nothing changed. But the military balance had shifted decisively. Iran's ability to threaten American ships in the Strait of Hormuz was dramatically reduced. Not eliminated, they would rebuild eventually, but reduced to the point where effective operations would take years to reconstitute. The message of Operation Anvil Strike was comprehensive. Attack one American ship, and we destroy your entire regional capability. The Forrest Sherman returned to service 7 months later. Her captain was promoted. Her crew scattered to new assignments. Her story became required reading at the Naval War College. 49 minutes. That's how long it took to go from a near-catastrophic attack to the systematic destruction of an entire defense network. Less than an hour to reshape the military balance of the world's most important waterway. The Strait of Hormuz remains contested. The oil keeps flowing. The ships keep sailing. And both sides keep counting the cost. Stay informed. Stay vigilant. I'll see you in the next one.